All right. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. We are back. Continuing with our look at the triennial Torah portion. We actually are continuing with our look at Genesis chapter 3. We were actually scheduled to get through 3 on last week, but we were only able to finish the second chapter. So we'll be dealing with part 2 actually of last week's portion, dealing with Genesis chapter 3, and we'll be speaking about the fall of man. The fall of man. All right. Very important thing in our life as human beings. Understanding where we are, how we got here. We're able to see this in this chapter. So let me go ahead and pull up for us. One second here. Let me get our scriptures together here. One second. Okay, here we go. Put this on the screen. We'll go ahead and read through chapter 3 and discuss all of our key points over here. Let me just go ahead and put this up here. All right, go ahead and read for us chapter 3 of Bereshit.
It says, and the Nahash was more crafty.
Nahash. See how it has that little dot right there?
Oh, yeah.
That's a...
And the Nahash
There it is.
was more crafty than all the lives of the field, which Yahweh Elohim had made. And he said to the woman, is it true that Elohim has said, do not eat of every tree of the garden? And the woman said to the Nahash, we are to eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, Elohim said, do not eat of it, nor touch it, lest you die. And the Nahash said to the woman, you shall certainly not die. For Elohim knows that in the day you eat of it, your eyes shall be opened, and you shall be like Elohim, knowing good and evil. And the woman saw that the tree was good for food, that it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree desirable to make one wise. And she took of its fruit and ate. And she also gave to her husband with her, and he ate. Then the eyes of both of them were opened, and they knew that they were naked. And they sewed fig leaves together, and made loin coverings for themselves. And they heard the voice of Yahweh Elohim walking about in the garden in the cool of the day. And Adam and his wife hid themselves from the presence of Yahweh Elohim among the trees of the garden. And Yahweh called unto Adam and said to him, where are you? And he said, I hear your voice in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked, so I hid myself. And he said, who made you know that you were naked? Have you eaten of the tree of which I commanded you that you should not eat? And the man said, the woman whom you gave to be with me, she gave me of the tree, and I ate. And Yahweh Elohim said to the woman, what is this you have done? And the woman said, the Nahash deceived me, and I ate. And Yahweh Elohim said to the Nahash, because you have done this, you are cursed more than all livestock, and more than every beast of the field on your belly. You are to go and eat dust all the days of your life. And I put enmity between you and the woman, and between your seed and her seed. He shall crush your head, and you shall crush his heel. To the woman he said, I greatly increase your sorrow and your conception. Bring forth children in pain, and your desire is for your husband, and he does rule over you. And to the man he said, because you have listened to the voice of your wife, and have eaten of the tree of which I commanded you, saying, do not eat of it, cursed is the ground because of you. In toil you are to eat of it all the days of your life. And the ground shall bring forth thorns and thistles for you, and you shall eat the plants of the field. By the sweat of your face you are to eat bread until you return to the ground. For out of it you were taken, for dust you are, and to dust you return. And the man called his wife's name Chava, because she became the mother of all living. And Yahweh Elohim made coats of skin for the man and his wife, and dressed them. And Yahweh Elohim said, see, the man has become like one of us, to know good and evil. And now, lest he put out his hand and take also of the tree of life, and eat, and live forever. So Yahweh Elohim sent him out of the Garden of Eden, to till the ground from which he was taken. And he drove the man out, and he placed cherubim at the east of the Garden of Eden, and a flaming sword which turned every way to guard the way of the tree of life, the way to the tree of life.
All right. Very good. All right, let us go back up here. There's much to deal with over here in this chapter. Go back up to the top here. I want to start, I think. Let's start with this. First of all, let's put this. Put this on here so we can look at some of this. All right, so let's start dealing with this here. When we look in the King James version, of course, it says the serpent. The serpent. The Scriptures version chooses not to translate the word that's translated as serpent, and leaves it in its Hebrew, which is Nachash. Nachash. If we look at Nachash, let's click on this here.
You have the whiteboard.
Oh yeah, I wasn't. I see it. Thank you very much. This is what I was clicking on. It is here a snake Nakash, or serpent, from its hiss. Nakash actually is a Hebrew onomatopoeia. Onomatopoeia. The onomatopoeia is the process of creating a word that phonetically imitates, resembles, or suggests the sound that it makes. I remember watching this, watching one of these shows wherever they put like ancient or historical people against each other, and they're talking about this one African tribe who had these spears or dagger things, and they were called the chuk. The chuk.
Chuk.
Yeah, and because whenever they stabbed you, they made like a chuk chuk sound. But that's an example of onomatopoeia, right? This thing is named after the sound that it makes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people that are probably my age and older remember the old-fashioned, the old Batman that used to come on with the corny little things that they used to say. But whenever they would get in a fight, you know, they would punch the people and it would be like pow with the big picture of the letters pow, boom, bang. And all of those things are all of those are onomatopoeias. They're all words that resemble or imitate the sound that's being made. And so when we look at Nakash, you know, it is this hiss. Nakash is this hiss thing. It's interesting when we look at the root of the word Nakash. If we click on it again here. Here, it is to hiss, Nakash, to hiss, that is to whisper a spell, right? The whispering a spell. It's this secret, silent breath that's escaping the mouth, but it's pronouncing these enchantments, right? And so when we think about what happens over here, we have this serpent that's making these sounds, whispering to the woman. It's interesting when we get down to the part where it talks about her giving the fruit of the tree to her husband who was there with her, and we have this Nakash thing that's here and is speaking with her. It's 100% possible that that Nakash is sitting here whispering into the ears of this woman right in the presence of the man. But since he's hissing, he's whispering, he's doing these secret enchantments, perhaps he's not even aware. Maybe he's like doing his thing, whatever he's doing, and she's just kind of on the side, doing whatever it is that she's doing. And then along comes Nakash, because again it says that Nakash, he's more crafty than all the lives or the beasts of the field. What is this here? Oh, the things that are alive. Yes, he's more crafty. Okay, so it's interesting when we look over here at Nakash, this serpent, this whisperer, which when we think about, we talk about this as being Hasatan, right? Because, probably because of a few different things, but Ezekiel 28 is probably one reason why we think of this as being Hasatan, where it talks about this anointed. We just read this a few. Let's just read 13. Start reading there at verse 13 there.
It says, "You were in Eden, the garden of Elohim. Every precious stone was your covering. The ruby, topaz, and diamond, beryl, shoham, and jasper, sapphire, turquoise, and emerald and gold. The workmanship of your settings and mountings was prepared for you on the day you were created. You were the anointed cherub that covered. And I placed you. You were on the set apart mountain of Elohim. You walked up and down in the midst of the stones of fire.
Okay, that's good. So we see that this anointed cherub, this angelic being who was at one time in the heavenlies, was also in the garden. And we see over here, if we go back over here to Genesis chapter 3, that's actually who we're dealing with, who I suppose entered into this animal and kind of took over the thing. It's interesting, other places where we see Nakash being used. It's interesting. Let's look over at Job. Let's go over to Job really quick here. This is interesting. Job 26. Read for us verse 13.
By his spirit he adorned the
just read 12 and 13.
By his power he has calmed the sea, and by his understanding he struck down Rahab. By his spirit he adorned the heavens. His hand whirled the fleeing serpent.
Okay, very good. So this is obviously speaking about the Most High. His power calms the sea, right? His understanding struck down Rahab. His spirit adorned the heaven, and his hand whirled the fleeing serpent. Most commentators talk about this as being a constellation, actually. The crooked serpent, who is a constellation of stars in the sky. They mostly believe this because of the context. What he's talking about here is all the mighty things that the Most High has done. And then to have an animal that slithers on the ground be something that is incorporated in this pronouncement of the might and power of the Most High, it doesn't quite go if we just think of that as being just an earthly serpent.
Mm-hmm.
So, most of the places that you look understand this to be referring to a constellation, a well-known constellation that is in the sky. But again, we see that it's, in the English, it's translated here as serpent, right? Which is, of course, Nakash. But I want to look over at, we'll speak more about the serpent. But it's interesting that we see over here It's interesting that when we look at more closely what's going on over here, especially in regards to these words that are being used to describe Nakash. He's called more crafty. He's called more crafty. This word over here, crafty, is translated as subtle in the King James. The word is arum, which means cunning, crafty, prudent, subtle. And so whatever it is that this word arum means, what lies within this word, this arum, is what allowed for Nakash to be able to work his whispering, hissing magic on the woman. Okay, this craftiness, this cunningness, this subtleness that lies within Nakash is the very thing that gives the serpent Nakash Hasatan the ability to deceive the woman. And so interestingly enough, when we look back, let's go back over to the previous chapter. Read for us the last two verses here.
For this cause a man shall leave his father and mother and cleave to his wife, and they shall become one flesh. And they were both naked, and the man and his wife, yet they were not ashamed.
Okay, very good. They were both naked, and they weren't ashamed. When we look at the man, Adam, and Hava, his woman, they were in this state of innocence. They were together, and it says that they were both naked. This word here, naked, is arom, right, which means nude, either partially or totally. And its root is aram. Okay, to be bare, smoothness, to be cunning. Beware, take crafty, prudent, to deal subtly. If you look at this word, aram, the ayn, the resh, and the mem, it's the exact same word. The vowel points are different. This is arum. Crafty is arum. But when you look at this thing, it's the same word. And when we look at the root, we find both things from either word, right? We find the bareness, the nakedness, the exposedness, and we also see the cunningness and the reason to beware, the craftiness, the prudentness, right? And so when we think about the state of man, there's something that existed within us that can evolve into sin. There's a propensity that exists within man to evolve into whatever this is, whatever's going on over here with Nakash. With man and woman, we see that they are naked, right? They are arom. But with Hasatan, we see that he is crafty, arum, right? The man and the woman in their state at that particular time, they were in a state of innocence. But that same thing that was in them, that kind of just morphs a little bit in Nakash, we see is the thing that brought about deception and rebellion against the Most High. And so it was interesting.
So was they on an even playing field?
Who?
The woman and the Nachash. Because, you know, sometimes I feel bad for her because she just got, like, tricked. But then...
Well, you can say that you can say that. But when you think about
But they got the same nature.
their nature,
The same.
yes. Their nature is the same. And so when we think about what sin is, you know, you can only be deceived or enticed to do something that you want to do, or that you're confused or tricked into believing that you want to do it. Right? At some point, there is a certain desire within you to do a thing. And so what Nachash we see doing here is he simply, pulls out the desire within the woman to do a thing, which in this case was to eat of this tree. Through these various lies that he speaks. Let's look at this real fast. Let's go over to James. James chapter 1, read verses 14 and 15.
But each one is enticed when he is drawn away by his own desires and trapped. Then, when desire has conceived, it gives birth to sin. And sin, when it has been accomplished, brings forth death.
Okay, very good. So when we think about sin, again, sin, of course, is the transgression of the law, right? But the conception of sin takes place in your heart. Okay? It's something that goes on inside of your mind that at some point you have a desire to do a particular thing. You at some point want to do a thing, right? It's your desire. So whether someone comes along and says, you know, this is a good thing, you should try it. You know, before you try it, in your mind you said, I want to try it. Right? So there is a desire that happens inside of you. There may be some outside influence, right? But inside of you, there's a point where inside of you, you haven't done anything, right? Think about what had to happen inside of Chava, inside of Adam, before they took a bite of the fruit. They had to make a decision first on the inside. And within that decision, there's rebellion in the decision that they made. Where they said at that moment, right before they did it, I'm going to do it. I'm going to go against the Most High. And so we speak about, the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, as if it's this thing that inside of it, releases some poison, something in you that causes you to do this or that. But we were already able to establish the fact that within Adam and Hava, in their state of innocence, existed the potential to turn from a state of innocence to deception and sin. All they needed was this thought, right? This enticement from Hasatan. Okay, anybody add your comments to the comment section? If you have any questions, comments, go ahead, put them right over there in the chat. Okay, let's go back over to Genesis. All right. Okay, because there's some interesting things that we see that goes on over here when we look at this. All right, let's go down and look at let's go down and look at verse let's just stay in verse 1, okay? Nakash was crafty, field of Yahweh made. Oh, he said to the woman, is it true? He said, is it true that Elohim said, do not eat of every tree of the garden? Now we see with Nakash, he begins with this lie, right? Their prohibition wasn't against every tree in the garden. Do not eat of every tree of the garden. This is how he begins his situations. I don't know if he's trying to bring about confusion, but again, with his whispers, with his hissing, right, with his enchantments, right, he being crafty, we have to assume that he's speaking to the woman and talking to her and telling her things that she wants to hear. Right, things that are within her that she's able to find agreement with and go along with. And so read what she says back in verse 2 and 3 there.
And the woman said to the Nachash, we are to eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, Elohim has said, do not eat of it, nor touch it, lest you die. Okay,
very good. So what she does is elevates the prohibition. What she does is make this easy, simple prohibition. She's turning it into something harder and more difficult than what it actually is in reality. She already has found problems with the situation to begin with. She's already not okay with this thing because she's adding to the thing and turning it into more than what it actually is. He said don't eat it. And she adds to it nor touch it. Right? She's making it more stringent. She already wants to get out. And Nakash knows this, right? He understands this, right? And so this is why he comes in this way, right? And then now he got her, right? Because he sees that she must want to get out. She's making it more than what it actually is. Nobody said anything about touching it, but this is how people do. Like they sit up here and talk about things. All you do is, right? You might do this or that, once or twice. But to the person who's against the thing that you do, you always doing this. Right? You magnify the thing that you don't like. Right? To make it sound worse than what it actually is. That's what she did right here. Do not eat of it nor touch it. He never even said that. What's our comment over here we see over here? What's this say? Based on her response, either Chava added to the word from Genesis 2:17, or she was taught that command incorrectly, nor touch it is added. Now see, I want to behave myself. What did you have to say? Yeah.
No, I was just gonna say that someone who was trying to pick faults at me already had a little dress that had a little Peppa Pig on it, and they was like, "You're not Torah observant, obviously. But your daughter has a dress that has that little cartoon character on it."
That's fine.
Which is like, okay, so I guess.
Yeah, from one extreme to the next, right?
Yeah, one extreme.
You can't touch the carcass of a pig, but that's turned into you can't have a cartoon picture of a pig on your clothes either.
Yes.
Yes, it's taking it too far, but the idea is adding stringency to something, right? Trying to magnify the thing.
Mm-hmm.
I like to think that Hava knew what the command was. I like to think that Hava knew what she was supposed to be doing, and didn't want to do it. I don't know that. I don't know that she was misinformed, commanded incorrectly. But what I do know is that she most definitely, as she says what the command is to the best of her knowledge, is incorrect. And so it's interesting when we look over here and see, the tactics of the serpent, how it is that he goes about, going after this woman and seeing just how it is that, her response to what the serpent says to her. And again, we think about what we saw over in James, that, this thing about sin being birthed inside of you, you can only be enticed by something, that you want. Mm-hmm. If you don't want it, at this point in my life, no one can't come and entice me to have a BLT. That's not a TBLT. Turkey bacon, lettuce and tomato. Right? Nobody can say to me, you won't believe how delicious this bacon sandwich is. At this point in my life, that I can't be enticed by that. Because I don't want it. I don't want that. Right? There's nothing inside of that causes me to say, let me just get a little taste of it. Let me just taste the bacon and see what the whole thing is about this. Right? At this point in the game, that's not something that can entice me. Now, if you come around here with, say, a chocolate milkshake, I love chocolate milkshakes. right? I can make a decision at some point to say I don't want chocolate milkshakes, and then you understand that, and then you come around me with this chocolate milkshake with whipped cream on top and little cherry, not cherry. I don't want no cherries. Now, if you put a maraschino cherry on top, you ruin it. But if you put some chocolate sprinkles on top, maybe drizzle some chocolate syrup on that thing, that would entice me because it's something that's within me. Maybe some coffee beans or something in it. Like if you did all of that, like it's something that I actually want, and then I can be enticed with it, right? But I can't be enticed with something that I don't want. Go ahead.
I just recently was speaking to a mom whose child knew that he wasn't supposed to have certain candies, and when he was with his family, he ate the candy anyway.
Yeah.
Because he wasn't with her. And so, she was wondering, like, how should she discipline him or whatever? And I'm like, well, you basically had him in a situation in which he was enticed by something he could never have. Mm-hmm. And now he can have it. So it's just now it's a teaching opportunity of, like, you made the wrong decision.
Yeah.
But at the same time, everybody has to come to a point where they got to make a decision for themselves. And he just was able to kind of do it a little bit sooner than, an adult. Yeah. But you made this decision, that was a wrong decision. Now we got to understand why, what motivated you. And, kind of fix it.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting when you think about, the idea of children. I grew up in an interesting way, and where I had these kind of different, my family, different sides of the family are doing different things, right? I would, at home with my mom, we didn't celebrate Christmas, right? But I was off from school during Christmas vacation, and I would go and visit my grandmother, who did celebrate Christmas, right, on my father's side. And so you have this other side of the family where, thankfully for me, she kind of reinforced what she knew that I was and wasn't supposed to be doing. So it wasn't like she was enticing me, but I could think about what it would have been like if she wouldn't have done that, if she would have gave me pork, or tried to have me to go participate in some of these other things as a child. That could cause some issues. But when you think about Adam and Chava, essentially you're dealing with children, right? You're dealing with people in a state of innocence. I'm not going to say children, but people dealing with being in a state of innocence. Moshe speaks about that second generation of people coming out of Egypt that went into the land as being those that didn't have the knowledge of good and evil. And so when we think about Adam and Chava in this particular state that they're in, without partaking in the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, they were without the knowledge of good and evil. And so they were kind of in this state of innocence where they didn't really have everything together fully. Well, at least at this point, looking at it, we see that Chava, most certainly, there was a chink in her armor, right? I think about, to me, and this is all just, we read things that Paul says, and he says this, the Lord says this, but this I say this. right? In regards to this over here, I say this. I say the chink in her armor was this stringency in the law. It was a bit too much, and Nakash came and dealt with her in that way. Nakash couldn't have deceived Adam in that same way, but he's dealing with both of them. He's a crafty individual, right? He knows how to corrupt the woman, and he knows how to corrupt the man, because if he corrupts the woman, he's going to corrupt the man, because that's the chink in his armor, right? So he knows that he can't go directly at the man, so he doesn't. If he thought that he could penetrate directly the man, that's what he would have did. Because he's crafty. He's more crafty than all of the beasts of the field. He attacked the man in a way that he knew that he would be able to, and that's through his woman. The way that it's written, there's not even a conversation. She takes up the thing and she gives it to the man that's with her. Like he's already defeated, because he follows after the woman. It says, we'll talk about this in a few moments here, but he says this woman that you gave me. Like he's already defeated. It's like I there's nothing I can do. You gave me this woman, this flesh of my flesh, this bone of my bone. What am I supposed to do? I'm supposed to let her go away? He's probably thinking in his mind, like, how can I get another one of these? He's probably thinking, like, you gave me this perfect helpmeet, this perfect gift. How could I get another one? I can't go without it. I might as well just go down with the ship. That's what happened. But Nakash, the serpent, knew that that's the way to the man. And we see this throughout history. This is how you defeat the man. It's through this woman that you gave me. Every time.
Let the record show.
Let the record show. Right? And the record certainly does, in fact, show this, right? And so again, thinking about thinking about all of this, and especially thinking about the idea of this propensity that existed within the woman, because I want to say that I don't believe that there was something that was released in the people from the tree. The act of disobedience of the Most High is the entire issue over here. Not that this was some magical fruit that unlocked unknown parts of the mind inside of the man and the woman. But disobedience was always the issue. When we look over here again, we think about this nakedness and this craftiness. This just a tweak of this thing that exists in the innocent man and the woman. That same thing, again, that same thing that lies within them is the thing that exists inside of the serpent. And so it causes me to really think about this idea of, we'll get theological for a moment here, and we think about the idea of original sin. The idea of original sin. Okay, this thing. Let's look at some original sin verses over here. Let's go to Romans. Romans chapter 5. Let me make this a little bigger here. Romans chapter 5, verse 12. Read down through, hold on. Let me get it up here. Romans 5, start reading at verse 12.
For this reason, even as through one man sin did enter into the world, and death through sin, and thus death spread to all men, because all sinned.
Okay, let's just stop right there. When we think about this idea, original sin as an idea, as a theological topic, issue, the idea that that Adam and Hava sinned, and then the sin that they did actually transferred over through them to their seed.
Mm-hmm.
But even when we look right here, it's not the sin, it's the result of the sin, which is death. Because let me just say before I say what I'm going to say, the issue that we have with the idea of original sin from a traditional standpoint is the fact that if you say by very virtue of you being human that you are a sinner, Yeshua was a sinner, and therefore, he was a human, and therefore, as a human, it makes him be a sinner. Augustine, one of the early Christian fathers, comes up with this answer to this problem, because if Yeshua was a human, because of this idea of original sin, and you by virtue of being a human are then a sinner, then how can Yeshua actually be a sinless sacrifice for us unless Mary too was immaculately conceived, right? Because we have the immaculate conception, where a man wasn't involved in the conception of Yeshua. But you still have the other side. You still have the fact that she is a human being. And then so if you say that she too was immaculately conceived, and then now you cause him to be less or human. Like, this is the thought that they put forth. But what we see even here in what Paul is saying is that he could have really said, for this reason, even as though one man's sin did enter into the world, and death through sin, and thus death spread to all men because of all have sinned. He could have said sin spread to all men. He could have said, put sin right here, but he chose his words on purpose. The consequence of the original sin passed down to us. Sin has always been a act either you're doing something or you're failing to do something, which brings you into sin. Yeshua died, but he didn't die because he sinned. He died because humans are bound to die because of this thing that we're looking at over in Genesis chapter 3, that all men have to die. But sin isn't the thing that passes down, but the consequence of that original sin is. Okay, keep on going. 13.
For until the Torah, sin was in the world, but sin is not reckoned when there is no Torah. But death reigned from Adam unto Moshe, even over those who had not sinned according to the likeness of the transgression of Adam, who is a type of him who was to come.
Okay, stop right there. So it didn't say sin reigned from Adam until Moshe. It's talking about people even over those who had not sinned. The thing that reigned is the death reigned. Even over those who had not sinned. People that lived righteous lives, they still died. Because of the consequence of the original sin that happened. That's passed down. The consequence is the thing that's passed down. Mm-hmm. Not actual sin. But what I'm saying also, what I've already said and what I'm kind of building on is this fact of the nakedness and the craftiness. We as human beings already inside of us, apart from the eating of the so-called apple, we inside of us already had this propensity inside of us. We already had this predisposition inside of us to venture outside of the confines of what the Most High has created for us. We already inside of us, based on the fact that he made us the way that he made us, we had a propensity inside of us that causes for us to desire to be autonomous, separated from any rule over us. Mm-hmm. We want to self-govern our own selves, and that's what Chava wanted to do, and that's what Adam went along with, and that's what caused them to go outside of the borders that the Most High created. Mm-hmm. Okay, keep on going over here. Read down to where was you at? 15?
Yeah, we're on 15 now. But the favorable gift is not like the trespass. For if by the one man's trespass many died, much more the favor of Elohim and the gift in favor of the one man, Yeshua Messiah, overflowed to many. And the favorable gift is not as by one having sinned, for indeed the judgment was of one to condemnation, but the favorable gift is of many trespasses unto righteousness. For if by the trespass of the one death did reign through the one, much more those who receive the overflowing favor and gift of the righteousness shall reign in life through the one Yeshua Messiah.
Okay, stop right there. He's said this now for the 3 times. The thing that's reigning over us and coming down, passing from Adam to all of his offspring, the mankind, is death. Mm-hmm. Because he did that one thing, we all die. We live for a time and we die. Not actual sin. Actual sin is its own thing. and I can't inherit the sin. I'm not inheriting the sin of my father. What I am inheriting is the consequence of his sin. That's what I'm inheriting, and that's what Paul said at this point 3 times already.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we look back at the originators of these doctrines, we can see where these things veer off, and understand that original sin in actuality is dealing with the fact that because of our separation from the Almighty, it leaves us in this state of being bound to our carnality and our flesh, because there's a law in us, just the simple fact of us being human beings. We one thing we are able to see, that Messiah himself as a man had a will that was different from the will of his father. He had his own words. That was his own words that was different from the Father. In fact, he says he don't speak his own words. He only speaks the words that his Father said to say. So as a human being, he had his own words and he had his own will. He said to the Father, not my will, but thy will.
Mm-hmm.
And so we see that the propensity that existed inside of the predisposition that existed inside of Messiah as a human being, this appetite in him that pushes the appetites and the desires forward, Messiah pushed those things down and to the side.
Mm-hmm.
He said, I'm not going to do the things that my body wants for me to do. I'm going to do only the things that the Most High has for me to do. And now the difference is that Yeshua has that connection with the Most High, where we need to regain that connection. We need to have that connection be restored inside of us because of what we're looking at over here in Genesis chapter 3.
So we can say, by that statement, that Adam didn't have that.
Didn't have what?
That connection.
Well, to a degree, though, he did have the connection, because we see that's when we think about the idea of him being naked and not ashamed.
Mm-hmm.
He was exposed, but he still understood that he was covered by the Most High. But the problem is that there was kind of a gap, though. Because when we think about, when we see over in chapter 3, where it talks about the Spirit moving through the garden, talking about where are you? Mm-hmm. Right? And so it seems that like Adam and Hava had access to the presence of the Most High, but it might not have been like the unadulterated presence.
Yeah.
Where maybe he came and visited with them, but it wasn't like there was a type of separation there. Mm-hmm. Which allows for these other things to come in, with what we see, where these things could go on, and that opportunity. Right, even like when we think about our children, if they're always in our presence, they never get to the point of making a real decision, because they're only doing the things that we say for them to do in our presence. But the real test is when they're able to be separated from us some,
right,
and they're able to make these choices and decisions on their own. And so the Most High gave these, because he already had beings in his presence that just did whatever he wanted for them to do, except for, of course, Hasatan and the whichever angels that went with him in his revolt. But he already had these beings who all that they did. We think about, when we look in Revelation, you have those angels that go around and all they do is just say holy, holy, holy. It's their whole job. That's the only thing they do, is give reverence and honor and respect to the Most High only. That's their whole reason for even being. And so he created this man, Adam and Hava, who had the ability to be able to say, I will do what it is that you would have for me to do, or not, maybe. And they obviously made a wrong decision. But I think that the issue is the earth. The issue is our container. The issue is the thing that he put us in, this flesh. It wants to be connected to the earth. It wants to be attached to the thing that where it came from. Let's look over at Romans chapter 3. Which isn't necessarily wrong until you go outside of the limits. Right? The things that the Most High made for us in this carnality isn't all bad inside of its proper limits, right? Even when we think about the tree of knowledge of good and evil, he had all of these other trees that we could partake of, these other physical trees in this physical place to appease our physical appetites. Just that one in particular, he said not to deal with. But when we think about, again, this idea of original sin, Paul talks to us about a law that dwells inside of us. Start reading at verse 9 down through 19. Romans chapter 3.
What then? Are we better than they? Not at all, for we have previously accused both Yehudim and Greeks that they are all under sin. As it has been written, there is none righteous, no, not one. There is not one who is understanding. There is none who is seeking Elohim. They all have turned aside. They have together become worthless. There is none who does good, no, not one.
Let me just say that when we look at what Paul is saying, it's all talking about the state of man and his actions, the things that he's doing, right? He's not able, he don't seek the Most High. Mm-hmm. He turns away. Mm-hmm. The things that he wants to do, he's not righteous, and these are the reasons why. But it's all about him doing things. It's not just for the simple fact of him existing, right? Because sin is the transgression of the law. And all of these things that he's naming here is things that the man will do to prove who he is, right? Keep on going, verse 13.
Their throat is an open tomb. With their tongues they have deceived. The poison of adders is under their lips, whose mouth is full with cursing and bitterness. Their feet are swift to shed blood. Ruin, the wretchedness are in their ways, and the way of peace they have not known. There is no fear of Elohim before their eyes. And we know that whatever the Torah says, it says to those who are in the Torah, so that every mouth might be stopped and all the world come under judgment before Elohim.
Okay, very good. When we think about what dwells within man in terms of his being, right? His carnality, being this living nefesh that he is, he's always going to be drawn to the things that, from which he came. There's a spiritual aspect of that, but there's also the physical aspect, and we deal with the idea of, our carnality. We want to appease our carnal man. And when we do these things outside of the confines of the Most High, it causes us to, of course, be in sin. When we think about the idea of the thing that we gain from being a human being, we don't have to teach children how to be wicked. We don't have to teach them wickedness. What we have to teach them is righteousness. We don't have to teach them how to do things the wrong way. They do that automatically. One of these kids, I can't remember who it was, couldn't accidentally put his shoes on the right feet. He couldn't accidentally put his shoes on the right feet. Like, it was almost like he was purposefully putting them on the wrong feet. You would think sometimes you would accidentally get it right.
Right.
But they was always on the wrong feet. He had to be literally shown how to put them on the right feet. And, it's the same thing is true with life. You have to teach humans how to do what's right, because otherwise they're only going to do what's right for them personally, which is not always right for those that are around you. The things that I want in my particular life, me wanting it only all the time, is only good for me only, but it's bad for you. Right? Selfishness is a natural thing. You don't have to teach selfishness.
Yeah.
You don't have to teach it. It's natural.
Yeah.
You have to teach children how to not be selfish and to think about others. Right? But this is that propensity. This is that original sin, and this is the thing that the Most High says that He can't leave these people in this way and allow for them to have everlasting life.
Nope.
They can't be able to eat from the tree of life when they are in this state of separation from the Most High.
Which is deep, which is now the powers that be. That's what their quest is, trying to transfer their spirit into something that is eternal. They trying to be without the Most High.
Yeah.
They don't want to go the right way through the door and do the right thing.
And when you think about this again, this is really just dealing with the idea of autonomy. This is the issue in the garden, is autonomy. People wanting to function within and being self-governed. I don't need you to tell me what to do. That's what happened. That's what happened. And that's how the people became like the Most High. Not by having some type of awakening by eating this thing, but understanding that I have a choice to obey or disobey. I have the ability to self-govern my own self. This is how you know when it's time for these kids to get up out of here. When they get to the place where they feel like they're able to govern themselves and they don't have to listen to mommy and daddy anymore, that's when it's time for them to get their own space.
Yeah.
Because they come to this realization of autonomy and they feel like they're able to govern themselves. Okay, fine, govern yourselves, but we can't have two governors up in here. There's only one. Go ahead.
That's what the terrible twos is. They realize they have a choice. They have a will.
When these babies discover their will, and their ability to say that dreaded 2-letter word.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
What's the 2-letter word?
Well, do I have to say it? We know what it is.
I don't know.
Low. Low.
Right.
When they learn about,
Because they use it for real, too.
Yeah.
You don't see nobody
like they deserve
say
to
no
use it.
like a child.
Like they deserve to use it.
no.
Like it's like they have a right. But this is the issue of the garden.
Yeah.
Is these people wanting to exist autonomously and say that the Most High isn't the Most High. I am the Most High. I can self-govern myself. And so when we think about, what we see over here with in the garden and inside of man, is something that the Most High put in us because he said he was making us in his image.
Right.
We were made in his image. Okay, let's go back over and look at this some more. Let's move down to some in Genesis chapter 3. Okay, so we see the issue with the deceit and the eating of the fruit of the tree. Verse 6, when we see that the woman ate and she gave also to her husband with her. I'm always perplexed by this whole thing. The idea, like, how much with her was he when this was going on? But as much as I'm perplexed, I'm able to understand that the Most High made us how he made us, and he made this thing called woman, and it causes for the man to choose the created over the creator many times. And so when we see over here, read again for us verse 7.
It says, then the eyes of both of them were open, and they knew that they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together and made loin coverings for themselves.
Okay, so it's interesting when we see over here again, not as if to say that the scriptures aren't saying what they're obviously saying. They ate of the tree, and then their eyes was open, and they knew that they were naked. First of all, they was naked before. They was naked before, but they wasn't shamed. They wasn't ashamed of being naked. Right? Let's just start there. They already knew they was naked before, but they weren't ashamed of the state that they were in. They weren't seeking out covering because they had a covering which was in the Most High. What we see over in verse 37 is a separation from the Most High. They were in a state of innocence because they hadn't transgressed the Most High. They hadn't disobeyed the commands of the Most High. But when they ate of that tree, when they went and did the thing that the Most High said don't do, it caused for them to be separated from the Most High. And now they don't have a covering. So what do? Again, we talked about this some on last week when we see over here these things that go on from a physical standpoint that have spiritual significance. There was a spiritual uncovering that took place, and then here they are trying to cover themselves up physically, which isn't going to do anything. It's not going to do anything. It doesn't change their spiritual state by them trying to cover themselves with fig leaves. Like one thing is not actually even connected to the other. But what we're seeing here is this shame that's coming not necessarily from them being naked, but because of the fact that they're understanding that they went against the Most High. Because they already knew they was naked. They was naked before, but they wasn't ashamed of it. It's not as if that they didn't have an understanding of nakedness, but there wasn't a exposure that exists. There wasn't like this this vulnerability that existed with them. But now there was things to hide.
Is that pride coming in?
Well,
Like now they're
pride is always at the base of sin. It's
Yeah,
always there.
With disobedience, yeah.
Because pride said it's okay for me to go ahead and do this.
Yeah.
Pride said I'm fine, even though the Most High said don't do it. I could go ahead and do it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And then the fact that they was able to bite it, and then they didn't fall down. It just fed that, right?
Yep.
But in the back of their minds, they still had to deal with the fact, what really was the Most High talking about when he said that? Because he did say a thing, but what did it really mean? Because I've disobeyed him, but I'm still standing here.
Yeah.
But they was able to feel the effects though, because it says that it talks about them knowing that they was naked. But what that is telling us that is that they knew that they wasn't covered anymore by the Most High. There was a spiritual separation. We know that spiritual separation is death. But it's a separation from life. And life is the Most High. Right? And so we're able to actually see in verse 7 where the Most High removes himself from them. So much so that in the next verse now he's quote unquote looking for them. Because they were separated from him. What was you gonna say?
Do you think they were shiny and then their shininess?
I mean, I'm not gonna say that I think that was the case, but I could understand the idea. I can understand the thought of where people are coming from when they say that. You talk about man being made in the image of the Most High. The Most High's essence, his substance, is kavod, is light. It's substantial light. So if we're created in his image, could we have been shiny and glowing? Well, if we're covered by the presence of the Most High, we very well could have been. I don't know that because it don't say it, but the thought because of the fact that we were spiritually covered. But when we disobeyed, we wasn't covered. We was uncovered. We was exposed. Right? Okay, let's keep on going. And so they cover themselves, right? And then now they hear this voice of Elohim moving through the garden. Right? And for whatever reason, Adam and Hava think that it's necessary for them to hide themselves. Do they think that the Most High don't know what they did? Or do they realize when the Most High sees them in the state that they're in that he'll know what they did? What's going on here? What is this? Read 9 and 10 there again.
So the Yahweh Elohim called unto Adam and said to him, Where are you? And he said, I heard your voice in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked, so I hid myself.
And 11 too.
And he said, Who made you know that you were naked? Have you eaten of the tree which I commanded you that you should not eat?
Okay, so now they're having this dialogue here and dealing with this thing that they've done where they're trying to hide themselves because of the fact that they are now in this state of being exposed, of being uncovered from the Most High, no longer connected to life, in this state of trying to cover themselves with these fig leaves. And the Most High asked them a question: Who made you to know that you were naked? Who tweaked inside of you this thing that was already in you and took it to the place where it turned it in from being just bare, exposed, smooth thing into this crafty, subtle, tricksy thing. Right? This thing that was already in him. Again, this thing, this word here that means naked. This word here that that we looked at, that again is the same thing that existed inside of Nakash that caused him to be this deceiver of the woman. But it only all it needed was this slight little addition to what was already there. If we look at it just as looking at it in the language, you just take the dot from being on top of the vav and putting it in the middle, right? Changes the word from being one thing to another. And so, but it's not adding anything. It's interesting that it's not adding anything. It's just moving something that's already there. And so when we think about what happened with Adam and Chava when they disobeyed the Most High, again, it was just about them appeasing this appetite that lied dormant within them. It was already there. For the woman, it was the stringency of the law, where she didn't want it to be that stringent. I should be able to partake of this thing. And for the man, it was, I know that she was supposed to be my helper and helping me to live a life that was unto the Most High. But now Adam had made himself an idol right there, didn't he? In his woman. He idolized his woman so much so that it didn't matter that what they was doing was outside of the will of the Most High. He put her above him. And so how could they even expect to not be separated from the Most High whenever this is the state of their reality?
How could they not?
Yeah. How could they expect anything else?
I would say
They went totally against what the Most High has said for them to be doing. They knew. I'm saying that they knew at this point, from covering themselves to hiding,
right,
that they were in trouble.
Oh yeah.
They were in trouble.
Did you say? I mean, Adam had a certain level of wisdom, but I think overall he didn't have wisdom. The wisdom to, because clearly he said you'll surely die if you ate from this.
Mm-hmm.
But there's other things that go with that, like your life just ending, because he was kicked out of the. The Most High say he's going to be kicked out, or he just said he's going to die if you eat from it.
No, he just said that you were going to surely die.
He was going to surely die. So I think like it's like a story of like not having the wisdom. Because I feel like if he'd have known everything, he'd either slapped the thing out of her hand, or if she would have known too. He came at him with that apple and slapped it out like nah.
Yeah.
But it's like if you don't fully know, it's like if you come like, oh, I didn't die. Look,
Yeah.
you don't have the wisdom to know the consequence of what's going to happen after that.
Yeah. Well, you think about, for instance, Solomon, who was, he had more wisdom than anyone.
Mm-hmm.
But the wisdom that he had wasn't able to defeat his carnal mind.
Yeah, right.
Couldn't defeat it.
Yeah.
That carnal mind is too much. And let's go over real quick to Romans. The carnal mind is amazing. So we could say, and I agree that at the time, it doesn't seem as though Adam had all of the ingredients in the situation. Like he didn't know the severity, I think.
Yeah.
But in general, I'm saying that it don't matter his level of wisdom and discretion at times when it comes to the power of your carnal mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
Read for us. Start reading at verse 15.
All right, Romans 7:15. For what I work, I know not. For what I wish, that I do not practice. But what I hate, that I do.
He said, I hate the thing,
Mm-hmm.
but I do it anyway.
Yeah.
Why though? I can't stand this thing. For what I work, I'm doing this thing. I don't even know why I'm doing it. For what I wish, I don't practice. I want to go and exercise, but I won't do it. What I hate,
That's what I do.
that's the thing that I do.
Yeah.
I want to eat this nice cake over here.
Yeah.
Keep on going.
It says, but if I do what I do not wish, I agree with the Torah that it is good. And now it is no longer that I work it, but the sin dwelleth in me. For I
Hold on 1 second. When we talk about the law that's in your members, the sin that dwells in you,
Mm-hmm.
he's not talking about actual sin, because sin is you doing something. But he's talking about sin in such a way of talking about it as a law, like gravity.
Mm-hmm.
There's a law that exists that says that if I walk, I'm not gonna float, like I'm on the ground. There's sin that dwells within me, as if to say there's these desires that dwell inside of my body that wants for my body to do this, that, and the other thing. And I have to suppress those things and fight against those things if I want to be pleasing to the Most High. All right, keep on going, verse 18.
It says, for I know that in me, that is, in my flesh, dwells no good. For to wish is present with me. It just is something.
Oh, hold on a second. I don't know what just happened.
Romans 7:21.
All right, hold on one second. Okay, here we go. We had a little glitch in the matrix. Okay. What verse was you on?
Going to 21.
Yeah, read again 19.
It says, for the good that I wish to do, I do not do. But the evil I do not wish to do, this I practice. And if I do that which I do not wish, it is no longer I who work it, but the sin dwelling in me. I find therefore this law, that when I wish to do good, that the evil is present with me.
Okay, so this is actually the reality of Adam and Chava in the garden. The fact that he heard what the Most High said.
Mm-hmm.
He heard what he said, but his carnal mind, his desires, his appetites inside of him, which at this point was his desire for his woman, was stronger than whatever it was that came with him going against what the Most High said. And so even though the Most High, even if he was just over there, they was in the garden, the Most High was down there though. He's still like pretty close. But the connection, I mean, this really speaks to the importance of a man and a woman in total functionality and total connection that a man and a woman have. That the Most High, imagine when we think about the man and the woman becoming one flesh, which they became one flesh, right? They were totally on the same page, right? They were in fact in one accord in all things, right? And then all of a sudden, him experiencing this thing that he'd never experienced before in his whole life, this thing that the Most High has given him. Matter of fact, that's what he said. This woman that you gave me is the reason why I did this thing. You gave me this thing, and that's why I did it. But when we think about even the beauty, the beauty of the combination of the man and the woman when they come together, it gets to a place of inseparability against all odds. Unfortunately, they're doing this thing. They're taking this divine connection, is perverse because they're moving outside of the will of the Most High. And so we see how this thing that the Most High created, how it becomes perverted. Where now, instead of them moving together towards the Most High, they've come together and they're moving towards iniquity. Right? Mm-hmm. All right, so let's go back over here to that carnal mind is just, it's just a strong thing.
And that's why when we've had multiple men that we've known over the years who made a wife, they was walking in a way, and then they married a woman who did not want to walk in a way, and most of the time they went off track eventually with the wife that they chose.
It's such a,
Because it's like they're conflicted.
yeah, it's such a hard thing. When you think about, first of all, when you think about the connection that the Most High wants for there to be between a man and his woman, but that thing being out of balance,
Yeah, out of order.
that thing being out of order and out of balance, and so you have this bond that's supposed to be a strong bond, and then just slightly tweaked, it just goes terribly wrong, right? And so they were one though. They were one. They was one, all right. They was one in their iniquity.
And their disobedience.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's move down some more. Let's look at this some more. Okay, so let's drop down to, okay, so we see that the man and the woman were uncovered. They were in this state of uncoveredness, of not having the protection of the Most High anymore, him being separated from them, so much so that he's here looking for them, right? Where, you know, he's been removed from them based on, you know, their actions, this sin, this death, this disconnection from the Most High. And now we see the blame game. The man said, "The woman you gave me, she gave me the tree, and I ate it." And then the Most High says to the woman, he goes along with the thing, right? The man points the finger at, first the Most High points his finger at the man, which that's where it belongs, right? Because he was the one that was supposed to be subduing the earth and ruling as the Most High called for him to be doing. Most High goes to the man. The man said the woman did it. Most High goes along with this, with the shenanigans, right? And says to the woman, "What have you done?" And then she points to Nakash, right? And then so now we get to 14, which deals with these curses that come upon the people, and so, well, the parties that were involved. And so when we look over here, it's interesting that when we see this whole thing with Nakash, the serpent, being punished. I mean, it's obvious that, it seems obvious to me that dealing with the serpent, who really was the vessel that was used, because we know that the one in the garden doing the deceiving was this anointed cherub that was removed from the presence of the Most High to begin with, and his fate is already sealed, right? And so it's not as if there could be judgment on top of judgment. He's already gonna get what it is that he's gonna get. But even the vessel that was used we see is cursed in terms of we look at this because of his involvement in the situation. The serpent now has to go along on his belly and eat the dust all the days of his life. When you think about this, I think when you think about this, you can kind of think about it from a physical standpoint in terms of the serpent, the snakes that we know of are these things that slither around in the dirt. But thinking about it in terms of Nachash, who imagine if Hasatan, his rebellion against the Most High, had to do with the deceit and the subsequent rebellion of mankind. And we see that it talks about being on your belly and eating the dust all the days of your life. Thinking about Hasatan now being from this anointed cherub who was able to be in the heavenlies with the Most High, now is bound to be the God of this earthly place, this place of dirt and dust, right? This place that is of the ground. And so you could look at this in kind of two ways. You could look at it in terms of it just being talking about the conduit of the deception, which was the actual physical serpent, or you could think of it kind of from a spiritual perspective in terms of this thing actually even being connected to Hasatan from a spiritual standpoint, because we know that he goes against the Most High. But I mean, if this isn't going against the Most High, I don't know what is, right? We see that the Most High makes this creation, man, and everything here he made for man. This is his prized possession, and we see Hasatan here being this influencer to stain, alter, tarnish the creation of the Most High. And so we also see in 15, we see where it talks about the seed of the woman, right? Enmity between the woman and her seed, the seed of Nachash and the seed of the woman. And so, we always think about this as being a thing that deals with Hamashiach, and the fact that when Hamashiach essentially defeats Hasatan with what he does with his redemptive work at Calvary, there's a pain that goes along with that, but that pain that Messiah goes through, the pain of death and persecution, is for the good of mankind, and it's a thing that reverses the separation from the Most High and his creation, mankind. And so last week somebody talked about the idea of what we see in verse 16 in terms of the curse on the woman, where she greatly increases the sorrow of the conception and brings forth children in pain. Oftentimes, people want to say that this part, and your desire is for your husband, and he does rule over you, is a part that, when a woman becomes redeemed, that, she no longer has to, be under the rule of her husband. But to me, you have to think about the physical part of this over here. He said that bringing forth children, there's going to be pain involved in that. And so, if we was to think that half of this goes away when a woman is redeemed, I think it's just you're not thinking about this properly. So there's a thing that as a human being, a woman, there is a curse that stays with you until the time that you stop being a human being, a regular human, redeemed or not. This is your reality. Greatly increase your sorrow and your conception, and bring forth children in pain. Okay? Now the other part is that when we think about this part, and your desire is for your husband, and he does rule over you. The part of the curse is this part over here, the fact that the woman's desire is going to for her to be in her husband's position. Because the whole thing that happens over here is the man shamaying his wife. Is the man hearing and obeying his wife. Caused this whole situation. And so the curse over here says that you're going to sit up here and you're going to continue to try to cause for your husband to follow after you. But in right order, you're going to follow after him. And so when we think about the idea of a woman being redeemed, the rule, the order is from creation. It's interesting when we think about Paul speaking about having women usurping the authority over men. Women operating in office of leadership over men, teaching men. He don't take it back to the fall. He takes it back to creation. The order of man didn't. The order of man and women wasn't created at the fall. It was created at creation. And so when we understand verse 16 over here, in regards to the curse against the woman, the curse against the woman is that she is going to strive to rule over her husband, but in right order, he's going to rule over you. That's what that says right there. And so that don't get taken away when a woman becomes redeemed. Well, maybe she'll behave in a way that the Most High created for. I don't mean to say. That sounds bad when I say behave.
Man, it's real.
That sounds bad. But I don't know what else to say. When we behave in the way that the Most High created for us to behave, man and woman, there's order. And when we see in 1 Corinthians,
well, that was a perfect word. Behave, act, or conduct yourself in a specified way, especially toward others.
Yeah,
I
I
mean-
know, but it's only. I'm only saying that because people, women, in their carnal minds, have these triggers,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
you know that. And if I say behave, that's how you speak to a child or something. And this is it's carnality.
It is.
But when we look over here, read for us verses verse 3.
1 Corinthians 11:3. And I wish you to know that the head of every man is Messiah, and the head of woman is man, and the head of Messiah is Elohim.
Okay, so this is the redeemed. He's speaking to people that are redeemed. He's speaking to those that are in Messiah. And he said that the head of the woman is the man. She's redeemed. So do we say that order is something that's pre or post fall? Right? These are redeemed individuals, and he's not saying that they're both equal in terms of order.
Yeah.
He's not saying that. He says that man has a head, and that's Messiah. He's saying that woman has a head, and that's the man, her husband. Okay? And so when we think about what it talks about over here with the curse, it's not something that gets reversed by Messiah. I don't know who the people are who propose these things. I would probably suspect that there's some women's liberation people or whatever, this egalitarian thought processes that run rampant in mainstream Christian worlds that want to do away with the way in which the Most High created for His creation to be. If the man would have been functioning in his proper role, this whole situation wouldn't be like this. If he would have said, I'm saying that it says that he was with her. If he would have been in protection mode, he would have noticed Nakash there whispering in her ear, and he would have stopped the whole thing from the beginning. Because it says that she ate the fruit, and then she gave it to him that was with her.
Yeah.
As if to say that this is all going on in his presence. So he was supposed to nip the whole thing in the bud and not allow for this Nakash to whisper in her ear to begin with. But even if he wasn't able to prevent Nakash from whispering in her ear, then he certainly wasn't supposed to follow her off the cliff. So nobody was functioning in their roles, whether it be the woman or the man.
So well, we don't know how close this thing was to Eve and how the proximities.
I'm saying that.
feel like-
I'm saying that even if there wasn't a proximity, when she brought the thing to him, he wasn't supposed to take it,
Right.
and so he failed. He failed by saying, "Okay, baby, I'll take a bite," even though the Most High said, "Don't eat it."
Yeah.
And so he's wrong either way. He's wrong whenever the Most High comes and say, "How do you know about this?" And he say the woman. He should have said, "It's on me. It's on me, Pops. It's my bad." He should have took the credit and the blame right there, even though she the one that gave it to him and Nakash gave it to her. He was supposed to say, as the leader, he was supposed to say, "That's my bad. My bad." Shlika.
Sleep, huh?
That's what he was supposed to say. But he wasn't acting in his role, and everybody there suffered as a result.
So what do you? I mean, things could have probably been different if he would have just taken responsibility and not tried to pass the
I
buck.
mean, but there still had to be consequences. So, maybe it would have been different. Maybe Chava would not have been the mother of all creation, as it says. Maybe the next one would have been. The next one that came after. He could have stopped it and said, I'm not eating that. You ate it, so you get to die. And the Most High could just give me another one. And she can be the mother of creation. Hava the second. Part 2. Right? It could have been different. Right? But something had to. The Most High is about justice and order. And that's what happened. It was. I don't believe that they would have went unpunished if Adam would have acted, if he would have acted 100% proper in the situation in terms of his response to all of that. Something still.
I mean, why can't they just be like, we messed up, let's go and talk to the father about what we did wrong? Like, why they gotta cover themselves up?
Well,
Why they gotta try to act like?
Well, that's
nothing
what we
happened?
do, isn't it? Isn't that what we do?
It's like ridiculous
The
how they
children,
act
when they
about
sit
it.
up there and they do these wrong things, they try to fix it up. They try to cover up what they did. Things go up, come up missing.
Confession is normally the last thing that happens.
I think it is.
Or
Right.
accountability.
But I'm saying that, things come up missing, and then, it gets brought to people's attention. Then all of a sudden, nobody did it, but things magically reappear.
Let's say I don't know.
No, I'm saying first they say, I don't know. This is 100% what happened in my life.
Oh, you're
First,
right.
things come up missing. Then second, don't nobody know how it came up missing. And then next, it magically reappears. Because people don't want to claim responsibility. They don't want to reap the benefits, the consequences that go along with these things. And it began all the way back over to here. Human behavior didn't just now start being human behavior. It's what we've been doing all this time. These people are just behaving in a way that humans behave. They want to try to hide their wrongs. They want to try to cover up their missteps. And that's what they did. And the Most High came and he delivered the punishment. But just moving on from 16, just saying that the roles of men and women is from creation. It don't have nothing to do with the fall of man. It only has to do with the way that the Most High created us. And when we operate in our roles that the Most High ordained for us to be in from the beginning, is when we actually are living as the Most High created for us to be. Even when you think about verse 17, so as a redeemed person, I don't gotta sweat and work no more.
Well, you know what they say.
What do they say?
They say that man
First of all,
got
who's they?
just
The women.
no, the scholars,
What scholars? What do they say?
theologians. I guess I don't know who they are.
What do they say?
That man got a break.
Oh, he got a break?
Yeah, he got a break with when Noah. He got rest. Because his father said, now I have rest. His name rest because he had rest from his toil,
Well,
which he had to labor on the earth.
let me just say this. I love the Most High. I love HaMashiach. The Ruach HaKodesh. Let me put my face up on her. The Ruach HaKodesh lives in me. But yesterday, I got up at 4:45 in the morning and I went to work. And it was hard. Work was hard and I sweat and I toiled all day. That's what happened. I have rest today on Shabbat. I'm so rested. I woke up almost naturally. My eyes opened up almost naturally. I'm saying that only because of my wonderful children that I have. Make all types of noises in the morning. But even that is a blessing. But I'm redeemed. And I still got to work. I still got to get up. And I got to go. And I got to work and toil and sweat come down my brow. And so this is just a reality. When we look at all three of these, 15, 16, and 17, the realities, and 18, this is the reality of human beings. Until the Most High come back, until we're transformed into spiritual beings, we have to operate in this existence, this physical existence, and live like this. Simple as that. Because of this thing that happened over here. Us being redeemed until Messiah actually comes back, we still got to walk around out here. So we still got to be able to function, and we still have to be able to exist in these physical bodies. And so in these physical bodies, this is our existence, right? Let's see here. All right, so let's drop down to. We'll close out with 22. Read again these last three verses here.
It says, and Yahweh Elohim said, see, the man has become like one of us to know good and evil. And now, lest he put out his hand and take also of the tree of life and eat and live forever. So Yahweh Elohim said, sent him out of the garden of Eden to till the ground from which he was taken. And he drove the man out. Then he placed cherubim at the east of the Garden of Eden, and a flaming sword which turned every way to guard the way to the tree of life.
Okay, very good. So we see over here this thing that happened that the man, Elohim says this now, right? The man has become like one of us to know good and evil. I'm saying that the way in which they knew good and evil, to know Yada is to experience. To Yada, that word know, is to experience. They already knew good, that they were connected with the Most High. But they knew evil as soon as they disobeyed the Most High. I don't believe that they had an awakening by biting the fruit. They are able to understand both sides of the situation because they experienced both sides of the situation. They experienced evil by going outside of the Most High. Think about what is even being said here when he says they became like one of us. They was like the Most High when they was created. They was created like in the likeness of Elohim, in the similitude. Does the Most High experience wickedness? Does he experience disobedience? Disobedience to who? What's that mean when it says that the man has become like one of us to know good and evil? Because the way in which they knew evil was participating in disobedience.
Yeah, I have to make a choice.
I know, but what choice is the Most High making though?
Well,
he's good.
We talking about the Most High of the Elohim, because it was plural. It was during the creation. It was.
I'm saying Yahweh here. It says, verse 23, Yahweh Elohim said.
He said he creates the good and the evil, both sides.
Right, but I'm saying in terms of it says the man became like one of us to know good and evil. To say that he created evil. Now, let me also say this. When we think about evil is the absence of something. If something's the absence of something, it's not something to actually even be created. In the idea of like making it. Like say for instance, if I create an opportunity for evil to be done, like say I take a big pot of gold and stick it out on the street, and maybe I sprinkle. Well, that's all I do. I just leave this valuable thing there. The way in which I would be creating evil would really depend on the thoughts of the people who was there. Like say for instance, if I did it like outside of here, just like in the middle of the city somewhere.
5 minutes.
People, it's gonna be gone. People gonna be fighting in order to do it.
Killington.
All of that. But there's going to be somebody, there's going to be someone who's not going to participate in that. And I would say that the people who wasn't participating in it would be those who would be connected to rightness. And the people who would be participating in it would be those who aren't connected to rightness. And so what I'm saying is that the way the Most High can create evil is removing himself from a situation.
Right. It's man that makes things evil.
Only because of their separation from the Most High.
Right.
Like in the kingdom, in eternity, the reason why there's no evil is because you're in the presence of the Most High. Because he's right there. But the further away that he is in the garden, it seemed like he might have been over there. That's why he was moving around. And when he came back, right? But when the Most High is in the proximity, there can't be evil there in existence.
If you think about it, though, Lucifer was in the presence of the Most High. and he swelled up. I maybe think that this is about the choice. You know, the option to go left or right. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, the angels seem to have the ability to rebel, to go and choose opposite from what the Most High instructed them to do. And so it seems like that what they have become is their eyes became open to options, to be able to do what they want to do, which is go left or go right. All they knew, they were like Adam and Eve were like babies, and all they knew was what the Most High told them to do, and they did it. You know, it was like they were basically being led, like all of these little ones right here. Like, okay, this is what you do. Take control of the animals. This is what this. And then all of a sudden, it's like a light switch came on when they took of the fruit, and them options came.
I think that it was a thing about choice. But at the end of the day, I think that the way in which they became like one of us is more about the idea of, you know, autonomy, where the Most High is in fact self-governing. The Most High is the one who says what's going to be. And so Adam was put in a place where he was the governor of creation, but he himself was governed by the Most High. And then he had this realization when he disobeyed that he was even able to disobey. And now he's able to have this in his mind where I can do this or I can do that. The Most High has the same ability where he's able to make a choice whether he's going to do whatever it is that he's going to do. He being who he is always going to be in a particular way. But I think that the way that that we are like unto the Most High but fail is that, and the reason why he separated us from the tree of life over here and living in this existence that is here is actually separated from the Most High. But the Most High is able to exist and know of what it's like outside of his rule, but not go outside of, like, the Most High has a particular character, and we're able to know, we're able to connect things to him by the character that we know is his. Like, for instance, we could look at, like, say, the Quran, for instance, and know that this is totally just a made-up thing. And the God of the Quran is not the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, based on the character of the God in that book, where it don't coincide with the character of the one in this book. And so we're able to know the character of our Elohim based on his behavior. If he's the creator and sustainer of all things, he has the ability to do whatever. He has the ability to do whatever. But he doesn't do whatever. He operates in a particular way.
Right, righteous.
Right. And so man, at this juncture over here, now they made it to a place where they are able to understand that there's two roads that could be taken. But the problem was that they took the wrong side. They chose the wrong side. And so we see over here that there was something within the tree of life that would have, for man to be in this perverted state and take part of this tree of life would cause for man to forever be in this perverted state. And so he had to cause for us to be separated from it until we were able to be redeemed. And so he hid this thing from us. It's interesting that I talked about this before. It talks about, we think about the Garden of Eden. You know, we can go right now. Well, if we had the resources, we could go right now and find the Euphrates. Right, those other rivers that they talk about, maybe their names changed over time, but we're able to go and find where at least one of those rivers is. It seems like you physically should be able to go where the place is, but you can't. And so I think about the way that it speaks about in Revelation. It talks about Jerusalem. It talks about the city coming down, right? And in the end, the city coming down. It talks about the tree of life and the river flowing out from it, and the city coming down. I feel like the Most High took this place that was on earth away. And when we get to the end, he brings it back. And so, you know, but again, it's part of this death. It's part of this separation from the Most High. We're here, you know, in the garden, in this place, in connection with the Most High, in close proximity with the tree of life. You know, you have you know, all of these, you're with the Most High. But we, in this state of, you know, existing in this state of separation from the Most High, we are forever seeking to find where the Most High is and joining ourselves to Him. And so, you know, when we look through kind of the whole of Scripture, we see, you know, the Most High, where He comes and He introduces Himself, and He creates this people, and He maintains His people, and He leads and guides this people all the way up to the place of Messiah, so that we're able to make our way back to that connection that He created for us from the very beginning. And it's interesting that He even pictures for us, when we think about this, you know, the cherubim, you know, at the east of the garden, with these flaming swords that turn in every way to guard from the place where the Most High dwelt, where the tree of life was. And then when we think about the tabernacle that was patterned after the heavenlies, and on the curtains that covered the most holy place, there was cherubim. So it's almost as if the most holy place was a picture of the Garden of Eden, the place where the Most High communed with His creation. And then when Yeshua dies, you know, at the moment that He dies, it talks about the curtain ripping down from the top to the bottom. Now, because of what Yeshua has done, we gain access to the presence of the Most High, something that up until that point was something that he just kind of sparingly gave to this one or that one. You know, the different heroes that we have in the scriptures that had that close, tight relationship with the Most High. Right? There's a list, and the list isn't very long, right? But because of what it is that Yeshua has done, he's able to take these cherubim who are guarding anyone from just coming into the garden to the place where the Most High dwells, and he makes it possible for all those who receive from the Master Yeshua to once again be in the presence of the Most High. And so it's interesting, even in this kind of casting out, we see kind of this prophetic situation, you know, in it. Oh, go ahead.
There's a couple things. First, being the cherubim don't have free will, so they can't be.
Yeah, they're not one of the ones that is.
Yeah, they can't be tricked into standing down guard.
Well, these ones anyway, because remember now, in Ezekiel,
Oh, he does call him a cherub.
he was an anointed cherub,
That's what he does say.
and so certain ones, you know, they do what they're made to do. Well, I mean, when you think about it, it's interesting. Breaking that up, you know, there's a fine line. We see over when the Most High created Adam and Hava, he made them and he said they was good, even though within them was the propensity to go astray. He still looked at what he made and said it's good. So they very well could have went through existence and not went astray. They could have just did exactly what they was created to do. But within them, just like within the anointed cherubim, the anointed cherub, there was that slight little adjustment that could be made, just taking that dot and taking it from up top and moving it down to the bottom, to making this thing that the Most High said is good to turn into this thing that is a curse. And so, you know, we can look at what the Most High made and talk about it working in its purpose. But looking at what we see with Hasatan and whoever else went with him, the Most High created these things for a particular purpose, and yet they didn't follow with their purpose. But these ones, it seems, even, I mean, I guess what we see here is them, you know, operating in the way in which the Most High created for them. And really, that's the way that we really should live our lives, is that we're doing a thing, we're living in our purpose, and there's nothing else that we should be doing. We should only be operating in our purpose, because this is the way that the Most High created for us. We actually should be thinking about ourselves in the way that we would even think about these created beings, that they was created for a purpose. There's no way that they would be doing anything else other than what they was created for. Like, we should be thinking about our own selves in that way, where the Most High created for us to serve man and to serve him. And that's what he created us for. And so that's what we should be out here doing, because that's our purpose. That's what he created us for. Right? And we don't have, we shouldn't think that we have even the ability to do anything other than that. Just like these cherubs here, and just like the ones that we talked about earlier, the winged ones that fly around saying, holy, holy, holy.
That's what he was made to do.
All right, so does anybody have any last... Oh, what else was you going to say? That's it.
I'll ask my question after the thing, the live.
Okay. You guys aren't privy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying the viewers aren't privy to your question. Okay, very good. So that being said, we will be done for now. Y'all willing, we'll be back on next Shabbat to continue with our look at the book of Bereshit. Hope everyone has a wonderful rest of the Shabbat. Again, y'all willing, we'll return on next week. For now, we'll say
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.